Hello, Peter.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for this possibility to talk with you and make an interview also.
My pleasure.
Could you tell us, and for the people that are watching, your story in a short?
Sure. I'm a simple guy from Norway. Was born there close to 50 years ago, turning 50 this year actually. And I came from Norway, but I haven't really lived in Norway for the past 20 years. I've lived in New York, where I worked for IBM, the IBM Corporation. Continued working with them in Oslo and Stockholm. Had a business school background before that. And then I met my German wife on a trip to Australia and got married in Oslo. Now we live in Spain. And I spend my time these days traveling around the world, probably 12, 14 countries over the past couple of years, teaching and training people what I learned through that trip, which started with IBM Corporation for quite a few years with sales and management consulting. Then I was asked to take on a job as an executive vice president and international sales director for a travel company. And after about 5 years of that, very challenging, very good job. I really loved it, learned a lot. I was in my mid-30s and I thought, you know, this is really great, but it's also 60, 80 hours of work weeks and 150 travel days. And a friend of mine asked me once, why do you want to build everyone else's dream and not your own? And he kept telling me this, and as we all know, the key to all learning is repetition, so it got to me one day and I decided to start my own business. That has become several businesses, and I guess you can call me an entrepreneur today. And that's why I'm here in Helsinki this week to do a seminar with a good friend of mine, Bob Proctor from Toronto, Canada.
Who have been the most important mentors for yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. That's many. That's several people. Starting with my parents. I had the most fantastic parents. Very fortunate. Been married more than 50 years, and I learned a lot from them. But of course, with parents and other people that love you, you know, they couldn't give you something they didn't have. And there were many things that I needed to learn on my journey in life that they couldn't teach me. So I went on to learn from a lot of other people, and I guess one of the guys that really have meant a lot to me the last 10, 15 years in my entrepreneurial journey is Bob Proctor. You may have heard of him from The Secret and other places, and many others as well with him. You know, you have different people for different things. My wife has learned me a lot of things. You could say she's a mentor of mine. I remember she told me one day that, you know, it's not your responsibility to make me happy. And I thought about that for a while and said, well, and it's not my responsibility to make you happy, she said. We're two individual people, although we have, you know, joined forces and lived together. So you could say I have had, as most people have, a lot of different mentors for different areas of life, yeah.
You are a personal development coach and business coach. Why is training and personal development such an important thing for people?
Well, it is a strange thing with personal growth. You see, we learn anything we learn more or less the same way. With me, it was the fact that I learned everything that we all learn the same way. We learned in 4 stages. And you could say that we go from being unconscious and incompetent, which means that we don't even know what we don't know, right? So you could say from that we learn about things. Like let's say you learn to ride a bicycle. You know, at one point you were so young that you didn't even know what a bicycle was, and then your parents took you out on the street the first time and you saw a bicycle and you say, what's that? That's a bicycle. So now you're conscious, incompetent. You know there's such a thing as a bicycle, but you don't know how to ride it. So you say, I want a bicycle and I want to have it now. So parents give that to you, they teach you how to bike. And now as we are small, we don't care too much about what other people think. We just want to ride that bike. So we fall off, we hurt ourselves, we don't care. We get up again and we We're persistent and we learn it. So at one point, they let the seat go. They hold you in the first, they let it go, and you bike on your own, and now you're conscious, competent. Now, from being conscious, competent, when you have been doing bicycling for a few years or for a while, you're unconscious, competent, which means that you're doing things automatically. It's exactly the same things with sales, for example. I teach a lot of sales, or people come to me and they say, you know, can you teach us how to sell better, how to sell more? And typically I come to a company and I interview people, the best performers, the not so good performers, and they typically know how to sell. They've been to all the how to sell courses. Their problem is usually that they don't know how to do what they know. So they have a knowing-doing gap, if you like. So personal development is for me very much about taking you from not only learning so that you know what to do, but really studying to the extent that you understand these things and can apply them and actually do what you know. And you know, when you do certain things, then you become, for a while, and repeat it over and over, you become unconscious competent. And that's what sales is for me today. That's what kicking the football for David Beckham, you know, that was my favorite Björn Borg when he did a backhand and won the Wimbledon the first time. He was asked by a reporter, why did you find out that you should do that particular stroke to win the game? And I said, you know, I don't know. I guess it just became sort of an automatic when you do it 400 times a day for a while. So the key to all learning is repetition. And personal growth is the same thing. However, most people, they don't understand that. Most people, they get a good book, they read it, and they put it in the shelf. I even have friends that I gave my book, Your Life's Echo, or Bob's book, You Were Born Rich, or another good book. And they say, well, oh, it's one of those personal development books. And they may see, oh, yeah, I read one of those. And you see, that won't do much for them. Just reading a book once or going to a seminar like today once doesn't make a big difference. It's the repetition of these good ideas over and over that changes the paradigms, which actually controls your behavior, which cause your results. That will do it for you. So I'm really passionate about teaching people how to learn and then teach them what they need to learn in order to create the results they want. So it's a thing that everybody should do. It's actually a lifetime commitment to personal development that people should be into. I've been doing this for 25 years and I'll never stop.
I can see that you're very, very passionate about this.
Ah, it's yeah.
Yeah. What, in your opinion, are the most important factors of success in the corporate world and for entrepreneurs?
The most important factors for success? Well, then we got to start with defining what success really is. And I like the definition of, or from Earl Nightingale. About 50 years ago, he recorded a record. It was a record at that time. It was before cassettes and CDs, and he talked about the stranger's secret. And he said, or defined success as the definition, or the definition of success, it said, is the progressive realization of a worthy idea. In other words, if you're working towards a predetermined goal and you know in which direction you're going, then you are per definition a success. If you don't do that, you're a failure. And if you use that definition and combine that with what all the big thinkers, philosophers, quantum physics, all the great thinkers agree about, they disagree about many things, but they agree about one thing, and that is that we become what we think about. Now, if you combine these two things and you say that, okay, one of the most important things then is to have a predetermined goal and work towards it. So if you find out what you want And that's not success just in entrepreneurship, that's success in whatever you want to have success in. Whether that is to make a lot of money, or financial success, if you want to have the perfect weight, or if you want to have loving relationships, or the best career. It is to have a goal, to know what you want, and then work towards it. And if you combine that with the fact that we become what we think about, we should not only have a goal, but we should write it down, put it on a card, and then have this card in your pocket. You see, every time you touch it, every time you read it, I have a card, always. And I read it in the morning, I read it in the evening, I touch it all the time. Every time I think of it, it sends cells of recognition to the brain, and I start moving towards that goal. I start thinking about how to get there. And therefore, I think that's probably the best advice. There are, of course, many things. You need certain skills in the area where you're working. You need a lot of things, but if I would pick one, it is to have a goal, to really have a goal. Know what you want, put it down on the card, put it in your pocket, and think about it often. You see, if you think about it often and you build on that, that will bring you towards the goal, and you will also find out that the goal will move towards you.